Item 6, approval of ordinance number 2188, amending the Code of Ordinances, Appendix A, zoning, and the zoning map to provide a specific use permit to include a party event facility, indoor only, on property zone local retail 2, on Block B, Lot 11 of Duncanville Estates 1, more commonly known as 111 South Cedar Ridge Drive, Suite 110, providing severability, repealing the savings clauses, providing a penalty or fine not to exceed $2,000 for each and every offense, providing an effective date, and providing for the publication of the caption hereof. Is there a motion?
I move to approve.
A second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please cast your vote.
Oh, I have no item.
You voted.
Oh, never mind, I voted.
Oh, would you like to speak?
I would like to speak.
All right, your light's on now.
I voted against this, and it comes on the last time it was considered, and it comes before the council this one last time, and I will be voting against it again because I think there's a fundamental issue involved in this SUP. It allows an event, a party event business to allow alcohol without any restrictions. Hard liquor, bottles, bring your own bottles, So after this was passed, I got phone calls. And they're not necessarily all from my district, but they were from around the city. And they were older people. And what they said was, what is happening? Back in the day, when people would brown bag, and that's what they called it, and I didn't know that term, when they would brown bag events, there was no restraint on the drinking, there was accidents, and we got together as a community, as a state, and we put in legislation or ordinances that would prohibit brown bagging, and you had to buy drink by the cup or by the glass. And they went into the history with me. And fundamentally, that is the issue. Are you going to allow in Duncanville the opportunity to go to an event and drink as much as you want, as much as you can bring? And we already know past history is that as much as you bring, that's how much you're going to drink. But if you have to buy it by the glass, you'll drink less, and the streets in Duncanville will be safer. So that is why I'm going to vote against this again. Thank you.
Councilman Freeman?
This is in my district. We've had this thing come up for us a couple of times before. This is a dance studio, and the lady has got a trial period on this particular zoning request that she's had in the past. I've talked with all the neighbors over there. They had opposition to it first. We worked this thing out with the neighbors. It was a noise complaint. She has met with the neighbors, and she's met with me. The main opposition was for noise. She has agreed that she will have a security officer there anytime that she has a party. Inside, this is a dance party for older adults. It's not a nightclub. It is a thing. She teaches dance. She has parties for these people that learn to dance. That's all it is. It's not a nightclub. There's liquor right out in front of there. There's fat mats. It's not a nightclub. It's just strictly a place for the people to have parties. I'm for this. The neighbors around there are for it. No one in my district over there has complained about this. Matter of fact, the neighbors around there are for it as far as I know. So I'm voting for this in my district.
Councilman Cook?
I'll be voting for this again. Businesses need to come to Duncanville. And this type of business, this young lady, from what I've met so far, is putting her hard sweat and funding into this business. It's a shame that this has to come up so many times. It would discourage any business, again, that want to do business in Duncanville, because we so often have to keep bringing up, hashing things over and over again, whether we want a business in Duncanville. I'll support this based upon what Don has said about the police officers being able to drinking. Again, looking right in front of the establishment is another business as well that's doing well, that I could tell there's not been any problem legally with the business in front who has a bar. So I'll be supporting this again and hoping that this business will be a successful business. If not, I'm sure it will be an empty building again in Duncanville.
Mayor Pro Tem Jameson?
Yes, I will be voting against this. I voted against it before. I have heard from the people in my district, and they asked the same questions, much as Councilman Thomas had heard. This is not the same SUP that they had before. The SUP that they had before, they were required to pay for the security, and it's now changed to that the security shall be provided by the City of Duncanville, uniformed off-duty police officer for all evenings where alcohol is present at the applicant's cost. And it says, also, I had people in my district that asked, who is making the decision when someone has had enough to drink? You don't have anyone that, like in place where you purchase it, there's someone that says you've had enough. And when you bring your own bottle, there isn't a person that's designated to make that decision. If a police officer, if something happens in the parking lot, then yes, but if it doesn't, there's no one to stop what's being, you talk about fat mats would stop serving you or be held liable if you left and had an accident. But I also heard from my district, and they did not want this in Duncanville.
Councilwoman Harris?
I will be voting for this. And one thing I want to clarify, that it says in number 8 that security will be provided by the City of Duncanville, uniformed off-duty police officers for all evening events where alcohol is present at applicant's cost. What we're basically saying is we want Duncanville police officers, off-duty officers, to be the ones to provide security, not some security company or someone else. Duncanville officers. That's the way I understood that to read. They will pay for the security, but we want Duncanville officers to be the ones taking care of that, not other officers. That was the first thing. The next thing is she has a dance studio, like Don said, and when she came before us before, she explained she has parties like for the dance, and she has weddings there. She has an incentive to make sure people don't leave there drunk, because her permit will be pulled, which will then affect her livelihood. She's trying to make this business work. This will encourage her to get more customers, because now they have a place to have a wedding, to bring in champagne, to bring in wine, or whatever. So it's not a type of, from my understanding, of what she's explained to us, that's what she'll be using it for. And if she has any incidents, as we've already put in here, then we'll pull it. We'll pull the issue. So I will be voting for this to give her an opportunity to make her business a success.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes, I just have 2 more items. For clarification, fat mats can only serve by the glass. It's not bringing no bottle there, so there is someone to monitor that. Another thing is District 1 did call me. Several people from District 1 called me. That district has spoken.
Well, this is, actually no one has called me. I did discuss it with one person. They asked me why I voted for it. Because it's pretty well known that I don't drink. I wouldn't stop me from going there because they didn't have alcohol. But when I ran for election, I felt it was important to be more business friendly in Duncanville. And when it comes to alcohol, 10 years ago, I maybe wouldn't have voted for it. But I try to vote the way I believe the majority of citizens want me to vote, and not necessarily what I would want for myself. And when the citizens went to the polls and overwhelmingly passed the sale of beer and wine in Duncanville, I felt they spoke and said that we do not object to having beer and wine in Duncanville. And these businesses are trying to compete with other businesses that do have beer and wine in them. And this is only what this woman needs to have a fighting chance to stay in business. We've put safeguards in place. She has to have a uniformed off-duty police officer there. And if she has any more than 2 complaints, her permit is gone. She will no longer be able to have alcohol. So I believe we are giving her a chance without relinquishing the right to pull that SUP if there becomes trouble. This isn't something that she has indefinitely. She has to earn the right to keep it by having and controlling the alcohol that's being used in her place. So that is why I am voting for this tonight. Please vote.
We're voting. Okay.
The motion was for approving. The motion passes 4-3.